My name is Professor Evans Osabohian, the Professor of Economics at Covenant University, and also the privileged chair of DIADEC, the PECOS Institutions and Development Research Center. So I will be showing my slide now. I shall take you through this important talk today. And for today, my focus will be on what I call the commandments of grantsmanship. The commandment of grantsmanship. I will take us through it in the next few minutes. And so, first and foremost, before I go to the grantsmanship commandment itself, I want to look at some relevant elements of a grant proposal. I'm not going to details because some parts have been covered. So, it's not cast in stone. It depends on your discipline and the kind of proposal you are working on at that time. And also it depends on the kind of requirements. Most times, most of the granting agencies have their own format, have their own approach which you should follow. So, but by and large, a typical grant proposal will have an introduction, background statement that will give the motivation for the study or for the issue you are trying to deal with. And I always talk to my team members and mentees that one of the things you can look at is to see how you can link your research problem, research issue into any of the SDGs. There are 17 of them, as you can see here. And there's no way you will not see one that is relevant to your research, no matter the discipline you are dealing with. So that is one way to get it. And of course, after that, you can have your what I call your catchy and captivating objectives or research question or hypothesis, depending on your discipline. Some will also have their objectives, the main or some call it the aim and objectives. The aim, once you have that in place, you may not need a research question or hypothesis, it will be taken as given. Then the third aspect is the issue of what I call an insight from the literature. What is the body of knowledge saying? What is the current level of knowledge that you want to build upon? Or the gaps to be addressed. In some cases, it is covered in the background statement, okay, or statement of the problem. But if it's not given, you can just take a look at it under this session. And the next one, this is the one I like so much, what I call the conceptual or analytical framework. Some call it a conceptual framework, analytical framework, or theoretical framework. It helps to bring out the kind of schematic way of tying the arguments. The arguments we are bringing about, how do you tie them from X variable to Y variable? What is the nature of their interrelationship? That is what you do on that. Of course, methodology is very crucial, and I will give a little talk on that when I go to the commandments or some call it materials and method. Then some call it also scope. When somebody's, I think I will review about 10 proposals for an agency recently. And one of the things I found quite shocking that in many of these proposals, more than 70% of them, you could hardly see how the methodology will address the research question they have already posed. So it becomes difficult to say okay, whether this person's or the writer understands what he or she is doing. So the methodology should to clearly indicate, let us know, let the reviewers know how the objective will be achieved. Of course, don't stop there. We also have a cover the area we call the anticipated results on what are the things that your result will achieve at the end of the day. If you are given the grant, what are the things that will come out of it? And which is also afterward, how do you communicate it to the stakeholders or to the persons you interviewed, policy, all of that we should come clearly under the anticipated result or destination approach. One other thing that is common, particularly for um, those who do the mass control trial or experimental studies, is to look at the field of change. But it's also relevant to show what will change. In other words, what will be the gain to the scientific community or even to society by on account of your study. So, what are the things that will change? You should look at those other elements. Okay. And if it's individual, you don't need someone. But if it's like a team, which now most research efforts, we emphasize that multidisciplinarity or interdisciplinarity. So the team coming on board. No, it's not that somebody must be you're putting because we are colleagues, we are friends. No, has to do with any person coming on board. What's he or she? What is he or she contributing? And that should show clearly on the statement of qualification and how it relates to that particular proposal or grant proposal you're applying for. And then you can have their biography. Of course, work plan and timeline also should be clear. If it's about 12-month project or you are bidding for or 24 months, what are the things that will be done within that 24 months, the breakdown. And that should also tie closely to the budget of the study. Very important. And of course, you can have the references of the works you cited. So these are the typical structure components of a grant proposal that I can just say. Okay, I just mentioned in the previous slide that one of the things in the review I did for an agency, out of the 10 proposals I reviewed, I found that most of them spent time and space explaining this problem statement and little space for the proposed methodology. Now you are given, I think that the guideline says a maximum of 10 pages. And you see somebody spending 5 pages on introduction and then background. And when it comes to methodology, just one paragraph or two paragraph. I want this study will be carried in African countries. Which of the African countries? What are the location? What are the coverage? Which variable? Who are you? And what kind of things are you doing on that? So it becomes difficult to see how the choosing methodology would achieve the set. I mean, choosing methodology will achieve the set objectives. So in your research, I think in sociology, I call it a funneling. So when you have done your research, after the first draft, take a look at it, and if like you can give to your colleagues to peer review, but then think through it and say, okay, from the beginning to the end, what is the how is it tied together? Okay, how would the objective achieve how the methodology achieve the objective? That will now help you to understand whether what you say you would do has been uh, done. Okay, now let's go into details, what I call the commandments of grantmanship. I have many of them as commandments, so I will take the first one and whatever we can stop, we stop. I think I have 10 of them, which you can call the commandments of grantmanship. The first one I'm looking at is needs to help us is that grant writing is not a beggarly process, but a mutual process. So this is the aim of this is to give us confidence at the point of applying. Have this mindset that you are not applying for grants because you need money or because you are in need. No, that is not the purpose. So it's a mutual process whereby both the grantee or the grantor, in other words, the applicant and the organizing or the awarding agency, there is a mutual process. So we see that because the sources of a grant process is beneficial to both parties, both you as the one applying for the grant and the one awarding the grant. The sources of every party is important. So that will help you to see that you're not at the mercy per se. Rather, it's a mutual process. They say they will have and a goal to be achieved. We want those that can contribute to that goal. So you are applying to say, okay, I can make that contribution. So we normally say in our trainings that the sources of the grantee is the testimony of the grantor, which means that when you actually win the grant and you execute the grant successfully, the grant the grant awarding body or the agency awarding the grant, we have that as part of their scorecards. So in other words, they are looking for those that can contribute to their mission, and you are coming in to apply to say, yes, I can contribute. That's why we say that both parties are in a mutual process. So grant writing is not a beggarly process, but a mutual process. You are not begging, you are requesting because there was a call and you say you can contribute. Don't forget, we say that the sources of the granting is the testimony of the grantor. So that's the very first one I want to take forward as the commandment or grantmanship. The second one is very important. This is what I was saying in the beginning that when people come to me and say, Prof, I want to win a grant. How do I start now? I say it's a process. It's a process. It's not a sprint. So the second commandment I'm bringing about today is that grant winning or grant writing is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It takes endurance, it takes persistence, it takes continuity. We normally say here that it's not a hit and run. Let me just win the grant and I get the money and I move. No, but hit and stick because one, you have won the grant. Even when you won the grant, you need to execute it because you need to cover deliver the milestones that you promise that you achieve. So those of us who like race, not a 10 minutes, a 10 seconds, a 10 second dash, okay? But it's a marathon that's whereby you stay put and keep pressing, keep pressing. So, second commandment I'm giving today is that grant winning is not a sprint, but a marathon. So it's not a hit and run. So it requires endurance, it requires consistency, it requires persistence, it requires continuity. And then before you know it, you become a master over the period. Yeah, the third one is very, very important. I will use an example of a recent one we did, though it was painful, but I learned a lot from there, which is what I'm teaching to us again as a commandment. So the third one I'm bringing forward today is that it is important to follow the guidelines, but we normally say that follow the guidelines painstakingly, or if you like, religiously. Look at it. So when you want, for what I advise, if you see a call for grant, the first place to check out for is the guidelines. Go straight to the guidelines or go straight to the eligibility criteria. What they want, so that you don't waste your time, energy, resources, putting much effort on it. And at the end of the day, you find that you don't meet the requirement. So it's no point. And this is what we applied for my team members that we got a painful experience. I think if you look at it, I want to apply to Spencer Foundation, and this is their feedback. I say we received your proposal submission to the Spencer Foundation titled. All of that is there. I say, look at what they said there. I say, unfortunately, the proposal is exceeded the word limit to the program you apply. As a result, it will not be reviewed. Simple. So because that all of that we have done, we've done the budgeting, we've done the think composition, we've done all of those elements have been done. But just this one, what is it? The word limit. We didn't follow the word limit. Only word limit was enough to say that this one will not be even be reviewed. Talk more of awarded. So that is why we have it as a commandment that you should follow the guidelines painstakingly and religiously, because ordinary word count as it may be can be enough for your proposal to be turned down. So if they say they want four team members and at least 50% must be female or female gender, and sure that is followed, or they want a team member that has experienced scholars and young upcoming scholars, that should be followed. So follow the guidelines painstakingly and religiously. That's the third one. Yeah, the fourth one is simple but very important. Also, a way to encourage you that grant writing is not a money making process. It's not like I want a grant. Yeah, I have money now. Yes, money has come. But I did a project with some colleagues in somewhere, I won't call the place. And then when we got the grant, say, yeah, prof, money has come. I said, no, it's not money has come. Assignment has been given. Let's sit down and see how we can deliver the assignment based on the budget that we have drafted. So once you get a grant, it's not a time to celebrate per se. It's a time to see how you can deliver value. So seek values, contribution first. Money and reputation will be added onto you. So when you get a grant, see how you can execute it to the latter based on the milestone that we're given, and that will help you to deliver it. At the end of the day, the money will come if you do the job based on the budget you prepared, and also good reputation, but ensure that you are coming from the point of abundance. You have you have the intelligence, you have the intellectual capital, or the human capital. You are bringing on board. That is your input. So the money making process will be a byproduct. So don't see grant writing as money-making process, but a process to contribute to society, to contribute to humanity. Don't forget, I said in the beginning that you should see how you can tie your research to any of those 17 SDGs, and then you are making contribution. So it's not a money-making process, but a process to contribute. The 51 here I'm bringing on board is that grant writing or grantmanship is not a linear process. It's not a linear process, or you can make it again, it's a non-linear process. It's not that you are going like this, go straight, turn left. It's not as simple as that. So every experience in grant writing differs, even when you're dealing with the same agency. They are called in their various their core in their different thematic areas may differ. So you must look at it, what one suits the one you're looking at. So don't rely on your past experience in addressing new applications. You must treat any new application as it is own. So it's not that you have an idea and then go straight to submission. No. So each process is not linear and each one requires attention. So from idea to grant application, if you want to do, if you get a grant analysis, petition, write up, you may also revise it based on feedback. So it's not a linear process, it's a non-linear process. Yes, the next one I want to bring about, I think that should be number 6 now, if I'm making progress, is that this one is also very, very, very important. I want to also share an experience, though painful, but I also learned a lot, which is why giving us it as a commandment. So next one we're going to say is if you avoid 11th hour rush, what we call avoid lastminute.com. So it's not that the grant is ending today's fourth or it's ending July. You want to wait on the last day, not only the last day, the last hour. No, because anything can happen. So to avoid, I'll say avoid lastminute.com or avoid 11-hour rush, because turn in your application early enough. It will help you avoid the danger of unanticipated errors. I'll give example. In fact, now it's a law. If I'm working with my team members, if the submission is 2 days time, we must submit at least 2 days to the deadline. Why? We can allow some error. Maybe there's an internet hitch or there's any error that comes up. We allow such time because we learned that from this experience. I'll give this experience. This happened with a project we're working on this traffic mobility project. We have about different universities, one in Europe and 5 across different parts of Africa, from West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. And one of our team members was to submit the proposal for us on our behalf as a lead for the African team. And so the day it was submitted, of course, towards the end of the day, there was no internet somewhere in this area, and we tried and tried. So we had to submit on the portal. He couldn't log into the portal to submit, and then that was it. We wrote to the agency that see what happened. Say, well, sorry, that is not our making. So that's why we missed that. After putting months and months of meetings, ideation together, that's how we missed opportunity because we were waiting for the last minute. So that's why I take it as commandment. We must avoid the 11-hour rush, or avoid what we call the lastminute.com mentality. Yeah, next one I'll bring about number 7 commandment is what I call the grant winning or grant writing is both a science and an art. So it's not only a scientific process, it also requires an art, an understanding of art. How do I mean? Because practice makes perfect. Okay, so the more you do it again and again, you learn from it. And now I'm sharing this one. Almost I'm giving you my experiences. And like so, it becomes better. As they say, as they say, people practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the better you become. But not only that, that's the art of it. It can be learned. Nobody was born with it. And that's again, so it's science. Science, because if you are doing a grant process, the process you are taking, somebody should be able to replicate your approach. Okay, it should be scientific enough that when somebody pick your research you are doing in your location to another location, the person should be able to replicate because that's also benefit to society. replicability of your idea. So it's both a science and an art. Okay, the other one again is in grantmanship, never undermine the power of collaboration and networking. So a tree cannot make a forest. We know that, and like I always tell my team members, a single lion does not dare buffalo. Okay, but it takes a pride of lion to bring down buffalo. So two is better than one, but another thing again, I must add here that when you are choosing your team, choose your team intentionally. Every person coming on board should have a defined role he or she is bringing up. But this is a team we formed after a grantmanship training we had, and it's Dr. Chinwe, who is now working with me closely in our team member under a number of grants to apply for. So each person coming on board, she's a computer scientist and AI expert. So I'm an economist, so we can see such interface. So it's good to ensure that you collaborate, but much more so it's better that you collaborate with someone that have like minds that can contribute to that. So that don't undermine the power of collaboration or networking in your grantmanship. So like I said earlier, not all of the now we emphasize the multidisciplinarity or interdisciplinarity, but each person's contribution should be clear enough to what he or she is bringing on board. Okay, this other one I I say because grant is not just only grant, it's so being able to execute. So the number nine I'm saying these days that then it is better not to win a grant than to win one and not deliver. Very important. If you know you are not ready to deliver a grant process, don't apply. If you apply, you get it. One, ensure that you deliver the mileage or the based on the milestones that were covered. Because integrity is important, not only for your sake, but for the sake of your association, even sake of your country. So I don't say okay, this person is known for not delivering because it's not a hit and run game, and it's also a repeated game. It's a scientific world. It's a small world. Don't think that you'll not be discovered. The world is now a global village. So ensure you deliver. And when you deliver, it becomes a what I call a trust capital. Now I'll give you an example. This grant we executed last year, September, it was going to finish it for academia 2063 and for gain. So now on the full system policy coherence diagnostic tool, we did a pilot study for Nigeria, and then we did after that we did a validation workshop, and it was very well received because for this particular project we didn't apply for it. They reached out to me and said, okay, Prof, we know you're in this area of research. We'll be glad if you can help us do this project. And that was it. I brought someone to join me on the team. And after this workshop, the feedback was quite important. That when a similar project was to be done in Asia, particularly in India and Indonesia, they asked them to reach out to us to see how we did it, and we told them, and we had a meeting with them. I also shared the link to the meeting with them, and they were very important. They were very happy. This is how this is we say that it is better not to win a grant than to win and deliver and not deliver. So if you win a grant, ensure that you'll be willing and ready to deliver the mileage and the milestones at the cover. So I will stop at 10 for this particular talk. And the last one, number 10, is very important. So even after you have done all you should do, apply what you should apply, and you get a rejection. Yes, rejection is not a death sentence. It's just somebody's opinion. And they are human beings. They may be wrong. They may be wrong. Yes, we are human beings. We are liable to error. So after you have done your grants, all of that, follow the guidelines, do what you need to do, and then on the day you still get a rejection. Well, rejection is not a death sentence. Sit back. If you can, ask them for feedback, and for the feedback, see how you can republish it, and then repackage it for another grant opportunity. So I would say, yeah, don't be afraid to hear no, because after several no, there's a yes nearby. Do your best and take your rest and leave the rest. So it's not just for someone say one person made me say like Prof, I've tried this several times. I'm not. I said no. How many times have you tried? Say about five. I say well, I like the story that Jesus told Peter. I say okay, how many times will my brother offend me? Is it 7 times or 70 times? You know, 70 times 7. So until you have applied for particular grant 70 times, you get rejection for 70 times. That's why you can stop. But as long as you want to get it, it's a rule of the game. Rejection is a rule of the game. Like I said, it's someone's opinion, and they might be wrong. So I will stop here for today. Thank you so much for being part of this uh, conversation. We look forward to your feedback and the comment section. If there are other topics you want us to treat, do let us know on the comments, or you can write us programs@dialect.org. We'll be glad to respond to your comments. Thanks so much, and God bless you.